I'm here with Mr. Cody Rhodes. Absolute pleasure.
Pleasure.
I feel
man.
like a bit of an idiot because I wear a suit to every single interview I do. And I was like, I'm interviewing a wrestler. I wear my leathers, look a little bit cool, and then you've shown me up.
It's a great contrast, though. It's black leather will always be cool. It's almost very 90s wrestler of you.
Yeah, this. Yeah,
black leather, shades out,
Yeah.
even though you're in a arena with no daylight and it's night. But yeah, it's very 90s wrestler.
I'm glad that you got what I was channeling.
I approve.
Thank you very much.
We got it.
It's like we've swapped styles for the interview, but
Well,
I wear this every day.
I'm corporate now.
You're corporate. You're a suit. Mm-hmm. How does that feel to be a suit? You have a fancy title. You are the EVP,
man.
Executive Vice President.
It sounded so good when you said it.
It sounded so good. You've got a little thing on your desk.
Yeah.
The Toblerone with the.
It's real.
Did you ever think that day would come?
No, and I feel like I was tailor-made for this job, and
Yeah.
it's like my dream job. But I never thought anything like that would ever come up. I never thought anything like any of this would come up. This is really like inconceivable.
Yeah.
As far as, and I've loved wrestling my whole life. I was born around wrestling, and spent a decade with WWE. But the idea that if you tell anyone who's in our world about what's happening, or with the announcement of ITV and the announcement of Turner, if you say any of this to them, it shocks them.
Yeah.
Nothing like this has happened in 2 decades, and this is even bigger than what happened then. So it's just wild. So my little nameplate, it brings me back, and
Yeah.
I really this was the thing I was always most proud of that my dad did. People think I was a real fan of his wrestling, of course, but his prime was before I ever got impressionable. I was 5 years old, and he was pretty much retired. But I was always so proud of what he did as a booker, an idea man, an executive. So, yeah, I feel like.
And do you think, and that must be amazing that now you're doing this,
Yeah.
and how much he would respect that you've taken on this mantle and you're doing it in a business capacity as well as a wrestling capacity.
Yeah, because he was like, he wanted to make movies. That's
Yeah.
what he looked at wrestling. Like, I want to make movies with these guys. Either physical action here in a ring just like this. I want it to be on the same level. Because sometimes, entertainment can look down a little on pro wrestling. And man, when it's done right, it's just as good as anything out there. And how it makes you feel. And he was really good at making people little mini projects. Some of them disasters. White Castle of Fear, disaster.
Yeah.
But then there's these other moments where he made guys' careers, and Tony has given myself, Matt, Nick, and Kenny the opportunity. It's a big responsibility.
Yeah.
We could do this. We could just go nuts with it
Yeah.
all, but hopefully we don't.
And you always wanted to get into that, getting your teeth into the storylining and the building and the characters, or when you first start doing it, you start doing it because you love wrestling and you love being in the ring. But is it more creatively rewarding to be involved at the level that you're in now?
I'd say this is the most rewarding it can possibly be. And I had this bad habit of, we'd be in the cars, you'd ride the roads together and you'd talk ideas and stuff.
Yeah.
And all the ideas I would come up with were never for me. And I remember there's one in particular, a guy named Wade Barrett who wrestled, and he became Bad News Barrett. And it was all my idea, and we just came up with it in the car. And I remember thinking, no one knows.
Yeah.
No one knows
Yeah,
that I helped with this in any way. And now
Yeah.
it's on primetime television, and I had a knack for doing it with the boys in the locker room, and now we can do it with, we've got 20 to 30 guys and girls that some people have never heard of.
Yeah.
And this is their first big
Yeah.
foray, so I feel like we're responsible for all of them. It's cool.
Do you have characters that you had or personas when you were starting up that you look back on and cringe and regret? Because I feel that weirdly when I first started working with Dwayne Johnson, the thing that we connected on was that as a stand-up comedian, you go through so many different personas when you first starting trying to find your voice, and that process of trying to find your ring persona is a journey, and there are times where you get it wrong or you misjudge it. And are there ones that you look back on and you go, that was just so not me?
It never really ends, right, in terms of finding the voice. The other night, we watched an older clip of me, and it wasn't even that old, which made me feel and strange, but I had like the pencil thin mustache,
Oh, no.
and it's dyed black, and there was I would say we say civilian, but that isn't the kindest way to put it. There was a non-wrestling individual watching, and when they're watching, they looked at it, and then they looked at me, and all I could say was, I was just trying some things.
Yeah.
I was just trying to figure myself out.
Yeah.
But even now, like, I'm first to admit, like, the blonde and the suit, and I'm always looking. I'm still
you're
looking
still
for it,
searching
you know.
for the voice.
Yeah, when people like on social like write you off when you're still in your 30s, it's like, oh, he never made it. This is a long road. Those were always my favorite wrestlers: Shawn Michaels, Eddie Guerrero. I was there. I had to watch for a decade, essentially, for Eddie's moment. I watched for years, sitting there cross-legged in front of the TV. Shawn Michaels goes an hour with Bret Hart and still doesn't win the title.
Yeah.
And then they go overtime, and he finally does.
Yeah.
Those are my favorites. So I try to, hopefully be in that company.
Because reinvention is a big part of it as well, isn't it? To keep surprising audiences and.
Undertaker went from a corpse to he's like an Egyptian pharaoh now.
Yeah.
So it's you got to keep doing it. Jericho's the best.
Yeah.
And we have him at All Elite Wrestling. That is the king
of
reinvention. He could be 600 years old and I wouldn't know it because he's had so many different layers and faces to what he does. He's a huge dick, but he's really good at the reinvention element of this and kept himself relevant and still bell to bell. Phenomenal.
And so you admire him as a wrestler. And is it harder when you're, I know you're not fighting him at Double or Nothing, but maybe you will fight him at some point now that you're both in the same stable. Is it harder fighting someone that you admire or someone that you watched when you were coming up? Is it weird fighting your heroes? I'm not saying Chris Jericho is your hero.
I mean, think about it from your perspective when you've been on set with some of the people you really looked up to.
Yeah.
I don't know I always try to pretend I don't care. Or not that I don't care, I'm cool. And I don't know if that's the best strategy, but when you're in the ring and you're so reliant on each other, there's a good example. I mentioned Shawn, he being my favorite. The first time I actually got to wrestle him, we never had any type of arranged situation. We were never in a ring together before this pay-per-view. And he was in the ring and my partner tagged me in and I, on the mic, said, oh yeah, I want you. I've always fucking wanted you. And it came out so strange and I know my mom was like, what did you say?
What did you say?
Were you?
That sounded way less, more intimidating in my head.
Yeah, I don't know what I was going for. But I always try to play it cool, but I feel like I'm always in the ring with my heroes. The group I'm surrounded with, this crazy Matt, Nick, and the Young Bucks, and Kenny, they're also my heroes. They're my peers. But man, the fact that we linked up together to do this, we have polar opposite ideas on what wrestling should be. But the fact that we stuck together, and Hangman Adam Page, to be able to those guys, it's real competitive, but in a good way.
And your brother, you're fighting your brother.
Yeah.
Is that? I mean, I used to wrestle my brother all the time.
Yeah.
They were, at a less professional level, admittedly.
Sure.
But the stuff that we would bring up, poor Barnaby, some of the family history that would come into those bouts, every embarrassing story that he wished I didn't know would be thrown at him. The amount of shade. I'd always bring up Thorpe Park when he wet himself on Tidal Wave. That used to make him, if anything, even angrier.
Wow.
And I bet he's so pleased that I'm sharing it now.
Now the world knows.
To the world.
Who was the winner?
I should have changed his name.
Typically with you and Barnaby.
Barnaby. Oh, well, there was a moment where it shifted. He was my younger brother.
Yeah.
And I always used to beat him. And then suddenly he could beat me up. And that was the saddest moment of my life, when your younger brother can beat you up.
When did the shift happen?
The shift happened around 13.
Oh no.
13,
Why?
14.
Size difference?
Just size. Puberty hit him like a freight train.
Yep.
And then he just was physically stronger than me.
He didn't feel
and I've
good.
never got over it. And that's why I have to assert myself by revealing secrets about him on the internet.
We had a moment when I was 17 where my brother came I was a folk style amateur wrestler.
Yeah.
He came to my practice
Yeah.
and he wasn't in the best of shape, and He had, he'd been down on his luck a little bit, and he just thought he'd get in there and roll around with me, and I smothered him.
Really?
And he was very upset. He walked out, and he didn't come home for a few hours. He was kind of disappeared, but that's where it happened for us.
Yeah.
We have a weird dynamic. Somehow I became the older brother.
Yeah.
Because he had a real crazy kind of rock star lifestyle. Him and my dad, real adversarial, whereas me and my dad, best friends.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, like, I became the older brother, even though he's almost 20 years older than me.
Yeah.
But I don't mind it. I'm fine with it. And when this match, it was now or never, and I wanted people to see it for what it really is. It's not so much this brother versus brother element, that's familial and it's there, but really what it is generation versus generation. Like, I can't stand his generation of wrestling.
Yeah.
And it's everyone's favorite, that
Yeah.
Attitude Era.
Yeah. And he represents that.
Oh,
yeah.
fully. And I can't stand it because I think there's been 5 matches in the last 5 months that were better than that whole era. But you say that and people
are like,
absolutely not, you
Yeah.
know? So this is just that moment where I want to see it together, generation versus generation, the best of, the Attitude Era versus hopefully the best of what we have today. And that's really what it is. And it's a wild thought when Tony came to all of us with this proposal, this grand proposal for not only a second show, but an entire company. I never thought I'd stand in the ring with my brother ever again. And the fact that I get to do it one more time is not missed on me.
Yeah. Your life, wrestling is just everywhere in your life. Your dad is a wrestler,
Mhm.
your brother's a wrestler, you're married to Brandy, who's also a wrestler.
Yeah.
Do you ever, how do you switch off? How do you get away from wrestling? Do you go home and wrestle with Brandy? Do you...
Lock up.
yeah, you lock up.
Yeah, we'll lock.
Yeah.
Do you know how to lock up?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're there, and then
Get
you
in
put
there.
this one right here, like.
And then I say, what was that
Yes,
line?
so-
I've always wanted you.
I've always.
We like really tough.
We have like a handshake where we lock up and then we let go of it right away. The things I try to I mean, it's always wrestling. Everything is wrestling.
Yeah.
Every picture in my house is wrestling. This is all I know. But my big escapes are anything in the fantasy genre. So I'm a big Trekkie. I'll fight any man, no matter stranger, friend, family. If he comes at me over if he didn't like Last Jedi, I'll go to blows with him. And Star Wars comes up.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
So the fantasy genre is really that's my only escape from the wrestling industry. And then
Game
all
of
I do
Thrones?
is love it. Our
You've
dog.
lost
Did you
it.
see him?
No.
So our dog, who was wandering, that dog was bought solely because of the first season of Game of Thrones when Jon picks up Ghost.
Yeah.
So we have our own. He's shedding all over the hallway over there, but we have our own. And months after we got him, Peter Dinklage put out a post about, hey guys, don't buy Huskies because of Game of Thrones. They're really hard to train and all this, but ours, hey, we did it. He turned out great. He's been on a few shows. Yeah, so.
And a style inspiration as well.
Exactly.
You copied
So,
his haircut.
yeah, I took it from him, man. Yeah, he's my boy.
I want to talk about AEW in the UK.
Yeah.
And your history of wrestling in the UK. Would you like to wrestle again in England with AEW?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
There's 2 markets for a wrestler that you typically, I always say they're no-brainers. One is Australia, and the other is, of course, the United Kingdom. The fans are rabid. And I feel like the UK, I used to, I was over there on a very regular basis with WWE, and even when I got into the independent scene over there on a really regular basis, those fans are never spoiled, if that makes any sense. I mean, they haven't got like a true real pay-per-view since 1992.
Yeah.
And the fact that we're on ITV.
Yeah, which has such a history of wrestling as well.
Yeah.
For a UK audience, ITV is
Yeah.
the home of wrestling.
Yeah, and then to be back and to be, Tony's vision for sports-centric wrestling, and I think it gels really well with ITV, and I'm ecstatic. I've rubbed a few people the wrong way.
Yes,
over the years.
I wanted to bring it up.
Okay.
I wanted to bring it up. I feel like we're friends now, so
Yep.
I can throw this out there. Do you hope to see a marked improvement in the oral hygiene of the British wrestling fans when you return after the kind words that you gave to them at the Manchester Arena?
I was always more of like a London guy. So I think that's what it was like. I don't like Manchester. I was more of a London guy. I hope they will take me in with open arms and
Yeah.
forgive me for. Dashing Cody Rhodes was he had a lot of problems with a lot of people.
Yeah.
So there was everything, oral hygiene, nose hairs, spray tan, men shaving their legs.
Yeah.
A lot of grooming tips were dispensed.
Yes.
But that was a very
Flash. That's a British phrase.
flash.
Yeah.
It's not a complimentary phase.
No, but I mean, someone that came in and told everyone that they needed to floss. Someone told me to watch this footage before
Yeah.
I interviewed you, and it was like 6 minutes.
Yeah.
You were trolling, and Manchester as well. That's quite a scary crowd. But they
looked like
loved it.
They kind of took to it.
Yeah.
I wrestled a guy named The Big Show in England for
Yeah.
11 nights in a row, and he was really generous with me about that exact part of it. He said this type of audience really has a different appreciation for humor.
Yeah,
and I kind of thought he
yeah.
was just setting me up for he's going to kick my ass at some point anyways, but he wasn't wrong.
Yeah.
And we ended up doing a lot of silly, fun, and comedy, moments, and the UK audience really took to it. It's hard to get under their skin. They're deflective in a sense. There's
The ruder you are about them, the more they love you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also,
Other than Scotland.
really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Maybe that's just me.
Now I know.
I think that might just be
Is
me.
this a personal thing?
I think they just don't like me.
There's a little more drinking going on in the UK
Yes.
crowds. I like that. I
Yeah.
like a rowdy
love a
crowd.
rowdy crowd.
That's fun, and it's really challenging for a wrestler when you can and I'm sure you've experienced the same thing, when you can vary your experience. When you got a lot of little kids, and how you do that show. When you got a lot of rowdy drunk people, with how you do that show. It's fun.
Yeah.
I jumped the
AEW
barricade.
be a different audience? Have you got a gauge yet of what your demographic is?
I think AEW demo is almost entirely like the lapsed fan. Wrestling it was always this sport or sports entertainment, however you want to look at it, and WWE was its biggest provider. But before WWE, and even in the beginning of WWE, there were so many other outlets for wrestling. And when they took it over, it almost created this huge vacuum, this huge void for, I want that type of wrestling again. Where's a little bit more violence? Where's a little bit more, is there blood? Why is everything so watered down?
Yeah.
And that, I hate saying that, but it's been so watered down, and that demo has waded through it. They've sat through it because they didn't have an alternative, and now they do. And it's on ITV, and it's on Turner.
Yeah.
So it's available to you in prime time, in a real spot, and that's the biggest takeaway from all this. We've got to deliver. And I think with the guys we have, and the ones you don't know and the ones you do know, I think this is a crew that can really deliver.
I did some wrestling in Arizona.
Yeah.
I visited Arizona, a lovely little spot called Tucson.
Not always that lovely.
No, not always that lovely. I think I've made it sound a lot classier than
You did.
it was.
Yeah.
In my voice, it just sounds lovely.
Yeah.
Like the French district.
You really put them over.
So in Tucson, I fought a promotion called Party Hard Wrestling. Looked out into the crowd, all AEW T-shirts.
Love it.
And they felt like real fans, and it felt like those are the people that have been crying out for something different and something new, and I was very heartened to see that.
It's the best,
Yeah.
and it's great for the actual wrestlers in our industry. And one of the things that Tony has got the foresight for, and he was so ahead of, is he chose 4 wrestlers to help him run his business. That is huge, because we're the biggest fans of all. If it makes us laugh or cry or that, then it typically trickles down to our fans. And the biggest resource for pro wrestling is actual pro wrestlers. And I feel like in other places they've gotten away from that. There's too many people who have never taken a bump telling others how to do this. This right here, this ring, you can give me a limited amount of collaboration, or maybe where you want it to end, or what that time limit is, or whatever, but this is supposed to be my set.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be my song. I want to play it. And if you think it sucks, well, I'm not coming back. Or,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But if we've put in an investment into you, clearly we don't. We want to see that. We just want to turn it up, and ITV, Turner, pay-per-view, everywhere, more people to see it.
Well, I'm very excited for Double or Nothing and to see how AEW grows. And also if you could have a word with Tony about maybe reconsidering his position on me as a wrestler, that would be great, because I know you're the EVP.
Tommy Tank, right?
Tommy Tank, yeah. It's like a military-themed wrestler. I come on in a Union Jack. I look a bit like one of the Spice Girls, so I might actually rethink the outfit.
No.
But-
So this is the beauty of the whole EVP thing,
Yeah.
right? One guy tells you no, one guy's going to tell you yes.
Yes.
So I'm saying 100%. Tommy Tank is coming
Tommy
to
Tank.
AEW.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I come on to James Blunt music. Because
Okay.
I feel like that will throw my opponent. A bit like you threw Shawn Michaels with I've Always Wanted You. If I come out to James Blunt, You're Beautiful, it throws them, and then I hit them.
A modern audience will sing it with you. They'll sing it with you. Whenever you think like, oh, they're just gonna throw them, they'll be singing it with you. It's a whole. You can't call them anymore. You just got to go with the flow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brandy's coming in with your dog now, which I think she's heard my chat and she's setting the dog on me.
She's about to tell you no to Tommy Tank.
She's about to say no to Tommy Tank and set the hound on him.
Let's wrap it up before she does.
Dude, absolute pleasure.
Yeah,
chatting to
thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing this.
No, and I look forward to Double or Nothing. What happens in Vegas, I know,
Goes everywhere.
goes everywhere.
Pay-per-view.
It doesn't stay in Vegas.
ITV.
This is available.
Yeah.
That's the worst
Fight
message that
internationally.
you could possibly end this on. What happens in Vegas does not stay in Vegas. It is available on ITV.
We are so excited to be on ITV box office this Saturday night. See you at Double or Nothing.